I am 84 years old, and as of this morning, my net worth is exactly $15,420 million. I live in a 7-bedroom estate with a view of the Pacific Ocean that people would literally kill for. But it is 2:15 a.m., and I am sitting in this cold designer kitchen realizing that money is the quietest thing in the world. It doesn't ask how you are. It doesn't tell you it loves you. I spent 60 years winning every negotiation, every corporate raid, and every deal. I clawed my way to the top of the mountain, only to find that the air is too thin to breathe, and there is nobody standing there with me. I have 3 different smartphones on this marble counter, and not one of them will ring with a voice that isn't asking for a wire transfer or a signature. I am a king of an empire made of ash and dead bank statements. Let's go back to Chicago, 1968. I was 26, and I was starving, not for food, but for importance. I remember the smell of the damp concrete in the winter and the taste of those 10-cent cigars I used to smoke just to look like a businessman. I worked in a windowless office for a real estate firm, making $450 a month. My father had died with nothing but a rusted toolbox and a pile of debt, and I made a silent vow over his grave. I would never be small. I married Martha that spring. She wore a dress she sewed herself, and we ate at a diner for our wedding reception. She told me she didn't care about the money, she just wanted a home. I told her I'd give her a palace. I didn't realize that in building the palace, I was building walls between us that would eventually become miles thick. By 1982, I hit my first million. I remember the exact date, October 14th. I came home at 11 p.m., smelling of scotch and victory. Martha was asleep on the sofa, the television static buzzing in the background. I woke her up to show her the bank statement. I expected her to scream with joy. Instead, she just looked at the paper, then looked at me and said, "Thomas, when was the last time you saw Daniel awake?" Daniel was our son. He was 7. I was too busy buying the 1982 Mercedes-Benz 380 SL and the house in the hills to notice my son was growing up in my absence. I told her it was all for them. I believed that lie for 30 years. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it to prove my dead father wrong. I was paying a debt to a ghost with the time I should have given to the living. I bought a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar in 1995. It cost $200,000. It is a masterpiece of engineering. It can tell you the moon phase, the leap year, and the exact second. But it couldn't tell me that my wife had started seeing a therapist for loneliness. It couldn't tell me that my son was starting to resent the very sound of my car in the driveway. I wore that watch to every board meeting as a shield. I thought if people saw the gold on my wrist, they wouldn't see the hole in my chest. I spent $200,000 to keep track of time, yet I didn't spend a single minute of that time listening to the woman who sat across from me at dinner every night. We ate in silence, the only sound being the ticking of that damn watch. It's funny you spend your whole life trying to buy time, but time is the only thing that won't take your money. 2001 was the year the tower fell. Not the ones in New York, but the one I lived in. Martha was diagnosed with a heart condition. She needed surgery. The day of her operation, I was in a meeting in Dubai. I told myself I'd be back before she woke up. I told myself the deal was too big to walk away from. I made $2 million on that trip. But when I landed at O'Hare, I had 3 missed calls from Daniel. Martha had died on the table. She died in a room full of strangers while I was in a room full of men in suits talking about quarterly growth. I walked into our bedroom and realized that the palace I built for her was just a very expensive cemetery. I had all the money in the world to pay for the best doctors, but I didn't have the courage to just be there and hold her hand. I traded her last breath for a signature on a contract. My son Daniel doesn't call me. Not anymore. I remember the 1995 state championship baseball game. He was the pitcher. He had asked me to be there for weeks. I promised I would. But a client called a billionaire from Hong Kong. I chose the billionaire. Daniel won that game. He looked at the stands for me, and I wasn't there. I tried to fix it later. When he turned 16, I bought him a Porsche. When he graduated, I bought him an apartment. I tried to buy his memories, but children don't trade their hearts for luxury goods. He looks at me now with eyes that are polite but hollow. I am not his father. I am his benefactor. I spent my life building skyscrapers, but I couldn't build a single bridge to the person who shared my DNA. He is a stranger who carries my last name. I spent 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, at Thornton Real Estate. I was a titan. I had 400 employees who feared me and respected me. I thought that was power. I thought being able to move millions of dollars with a phone call was strength. But now, sitting here at 84, I realize that true power is having someone who knows your favorite soup when you're sick. I fired people for being 5 minutes late, but I was 30 years late to my own life. I built a kingdom of concrete and glass, but it has no warmth. My employees have all retired or moved on. My name on the building is just a collection of letters. The office kingdom is a lonely place once the lights go out. I won the corporate war, but I lost the peace at home. In 2019, my heart finally tried to quit. I was in a luxury hospital suite that cost $5,000 a night. I had the best surgeons money could buy. I woke up at 3 a.m. after the procedure, tubes in my arms, and I looked around. The room was beautiful. There were flowers from business associates and cards from people who wanted my inheritance, but the chair next to my bed was empty. There was nobody to hold my hand. The nurses were kind, but they were paid to be kind. I realized that if my heart had stopped that night, the world would have kept spinning, and my $15 million would have been fought over by lawyers before my body was even cold. I was a man who owned everything and had nothing at the same time. I survived, but that night, the king died. Today, I look at my contact list. I have over 500 names, people I've done deals with, people I've dined with, people who called me friend when I was signing checks. But I have 0 friends. If I died tomorrow, there would be a very impressive funeral. There would be speeches about my vision and my contributions to the industry. But nobody would truly cry. Nobody would feel a hole in their life because I was gone. I spent my life being a somebody to the world and a nobody to the people who mattered. My phone is silent because I didn't invest in people. I invested in portfolios, and portfolios don't call you to say goodnight. I have a net worth of 15 million, but my emotional bank account has been overdrawn for decades. My final advice to you, if you are still young enough to change, stop winning the wrong war. Don't trade the people who love you for a pile of paper that won't keep you warm at night. Build bridges, not skyscrapers. When you are 84, you won't remember the deal you closed in 1992. You will remember the baseball game you missed. You will remember the hand you didn't hold. The invisible debt is the time you steal from your family to build a status that won't even last as long as your headstone. Start living for the people in front of you, not the ghosts behind you. Because when the clock stops, the only thing that matters is who is sitting in that chair next to your bed. Don't be the richest man in the cemetery. Be the man who was loved. Subscribe to Last Perspective, and for the love of God, go home and hug your children. The clock is ticking.